And so that's just, so the manager then said, "Let's." Did you have to go back and audition or change up and start writing new R&B songs?
We had pretty much a repertoire of stuff that was already in the can or whatever. Like some of the stuff that ended up on the first album that we wrote was some of the stuff that was come up with then. And like by me not being in the group when they were doing it, they would leave. I mean, certain sections were left open, or they would redo certain parts. I would write bridge section, like the song "So Special" that was on our first album. Like that song was one of the songs that they had from back then. But if the bridge, it was just like a vamp, and they were just music, and it was really no vocals or whatever, or they were just saying the same thing over and over. And I came in and wrote a bridge section. They told me to write a bridge section of that so I could have a part on that or whatever like that. So we had songs. Like we were always a group that was like self-contained as far as singing, and the guy who got them that deal also bought them a keyboard, and they would share it in between each one of them. Like each one would get a week with the keyboard or whatever, so they can work on their production skills and stuff like that. And I was always a writer, like from elementary school. Like I was put in a creative writing camp over the summer at one point because I just loved to write poetry, music, whatever. Like that was just something that I always did. So we had songs, and as far as like what was on the radio, even when we were a gospel group, we never stopped listening to what was hot on the radio. So we never stopped listening to Jodeci and Boys the Men and UNV and Intro, anybody else who was
Yeah,
out. We actually wanted to audition the same day we went to audition for the deal that we got with Island Black Music.
yeah.
We were upset because we wanted to go and audition to be D'Angelo's background singers. They had something that was coming to Baltimore, auditioning singers for D'Angelo, and
For him
we
doing a
wanted to do
tour.
that. We wanted to do that, so like I know at least me and Sisqó was like kind of salty because we wanted to go and audition for D'Angelo because we had just started listening to that first album of his, and me and those dreaming eyes of mine and all them harmonies and stuff that he had. Like we just thought it'd be a lot of fun to sing behind him. So we ain't even want to go. We wanted to go, but we did. We was like, oh man, like when you're a kid, like your mother, like you're going there, but you still looking back, trying to see what's going on over there. So yeah, we never stopped perfecting, like our craft and being aware of what was going on in music. Because even with our gospel music, we didn't sing traditional gospel songs. We sung songs that we wrote, and a lot of the songs, like especially if Sisqó or Jazz wrote them, they have elements of Jodeci stuff in the songs that we were singing as a gospel group. And we sung the Whiners in the
Phase
morning.
two.
Ain't no
Okay.
need to worry. Oh no,
Okay.
not Phase 2, the originals. We sung remember Ain't No Need to Worry, the song with Anita Baker and the Whiners.
No, no, no.
Ain't no need to worry what the night is gonna bring. It'll be all over in the morning. It's a good song. But we
Wow.
flipped that, and we would sing, each one of us would sing a little verse or whatever of that, and then we'd come in with the harmony and everybody would, go crazy. And then we would sing the radio station here in Baltimore. It used to be a radio station called V103. And every year for Valentine's Day, they would have us to come up there and sing a little
Wow.
bit. So yeah, we had like a whole program for the Love Zone or whatever with the slow jams, and they have us up there singing live. So we never really stopped.
But at
You
this
know.
time, then, did you guys have a sense, we actually want to become recording artists? Because the 90s
Mhm.
had a lot of groups. But then when you're not singing, what are you doing? Are you working? Are you going to college? Or what do you do when you're not singing?
Well, I went to college. I went to Coppin State College here in Baltimore. And that was basically because my mom, another thing that my mom was, like I said, I always got good grades and stuff like that, with the exception of when I stopped caring. But she was just like, "You're too smart not to go to college." So I was in college, and I was also working at a place called the Fudgery, which is where we all were working. And
Okay.
the reason why we all worked there, like I think Sisqó started working there first. And the reason why we were all work there is because if we got a audition or something like that, they would know that a person not lying if we all had to go. So they were really
Okay.
flexible with us, and they would let us all get off on the same day if need be to go sing or go
Okay.
audition for somebody. So yeah, we were doing that. I'm in college, and then also after school every day, my college was pretty much down the street from where Nokio was living in West Baltimore. So after school, I would come to his house and he would be working on some tracks because at some point the keyboard that the guy bought them switched from going to a different member's house every week to just staying at his house. And
And you guys
so
didn't
like,
mind?
I mean, they minded. I wasn't, like I wasn't there when it was bought, so I kind of didn't consider myself part of that equation or whatever. So it wasn't up mine. I never had a week with the keyboard, so I ain't care one way or the other. But like the rest of them, they used to fuss about it. But what ended up happening is like once he and I started working together, we kind of came up with a style, and it's like the style that we came up with kind of worked because like our label, we were such big fans of Jodeci that a lot of our original music was come out sounding like Jodeci. And the label was like not really the smaller label, like the little production company that we were signed to. They weren't really fond of that because it's like it's already a Jodeci. So it's like if we bring y'all to the table, we need y'all to have an original sound or whatever. So what ended up happening is like I did the song that I recorded for our first album, April Showers, the song that's on our first album. I did
Yeah.
that. And it was like a couple other songs that Nokio and I came up with in the house or whatever. Like I did that song as a birthday present to my girlfriend at the time because I didn't have any money to get her a real present. So we just had extra studio time after they had me to demo a song for another artist. And then I asked Nokio to play some chords to what I was singing or whatever, like use that extra studio time, and we did that. And that was supposed to be a birthday present. But one of the ladies who was helping us named Kim, she was doing the vocal coaching with us, like teaching us basically not how to sing, but how to sing together and to make our words the same, and made us stand and look at each other in the face and while we sung so we could see how each person mouth formed the words so we could all have good unison or whatever. But she ended up hearing the song and she was like, this is the type of stuff y'all need to be doing. Like this don't sound like Jodeci. This don't sound like nobody. So once we heard that, no, and I heard that, like it kind of put a battery in our backs to where so we just started creating more stuff. And Sisqó and Jazz was still right, but they would come and basically we would set the foundation. Like we would get off of work because they fired the job that we was working at the Fudgery, fired me and Nook the same day because basically, if anybody had a second job, they wanted people who would be available anytime and they could just call you in and they know that you just home or you just chilling something and you can just get to work. So the fact that I went to school and the fact that he had a second job, he was working at a shoe store, also called Downtown Locker Room. So the fact that we both had other stuff to do, they let us go. Like they called all the names of everybody in there and they said, we call your name in this group, you stay in. If you call your name in this group, thank y'all for your time, but y'all out of here. Y'all time up. So because we had that time on our hands, and I only went to school for like 2 courses a day. Because like I said, I was only going to pacify my mom. So I went. My major was criminal justice, so I would go and take my criminal justice class, and then I would go and sing with the school choir, and then I would take a voice class up there at the school and stuff like that. Stuff I wanted to do anyway. So I would after school I would come to his house and we would start working on the songs that you hear on the first album. Like we would come up with he would play something and I come in with a melody. I'm good at like freestyling melodies and stuff like that. And then once we got the melody locked in with the chords, then we would both go back and forth with the lyrics or whatever. Like I might come up with some and then he might come up with some and then we might put together what we got, or one of us, we like what one of us came up with, we just, all right, you got that one. And that's what we would do. And then Jazz and Sisqó, when they would get off from work, they would come over. And then once we had the lyrics and the melody and all that solidified, they would come and arrange the harmonies around what we had. And then if it was any gaps that needed lyrics or whatever, then they would jump in. And it was kind of like assembly line.
Yeah.
That's basically what we were doing up until the point where we started going out and singing for labels and stuff like that.
At this point, had you changed the name to Dru Hill?
No, the name
the
Dru
legacy?
Hill didn't come until we actually got signed. And when we would get ready to put the song out, they said the label president called Nokio. Like I said, he was always the one that was like included in the business stuff. So it was like, y'all need a name. Like Legacy is already taken or whatever. They said, like, I don't know if it was spelled the same, but either way, they said that name is already registered by somebody. So y'all need a name. And it needs to be a name that if people hear that name, they would know that y'all was from Baltimore. So he came up, they went through some other stuff, and then he finally said, it's a park here in Baltimore that everybody at that time, like in the summertime, everybody would come to that park. Like all the guys would get their cars shined up and stuff like that, and put all their jewelry on and stuff like that, and all the girls put on their booty shorts or whatever they tube tops and stuff like that, come out looking good, and it's just like a good time, like every Sunday, you know. And so he's like, that's like a central point in Baltimore. Like everybody our age, everybody goes there, everybody knows that. So that's how that became the name of the group. But they took the ID off of it and just said.
But what's the name of the park?
Druid Hill Park.
Oh, Druid Hill Park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
yeah, but type of way they shortened it, I don't know exactly how they came up, got that variation of it, but I remember him calling us.
Nokio.
Calling all us on like a conference call or whatever, like a three-way. Like, oh, you called him and you called him. We all on the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, this our name, Dru Hill. And it was just silence on that phone. Like, we was so mad. We was like, yo, people gonna think we local, yo. They gonna think we ain't nobody. There ain't no name for nobody all over the world. They gonna think we local. And he's like, well, it's too late. It's already on the soundtrack because you already know the way that we got signed.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.